If you signed up for a Vive experience, we will definitely get back to you after this. We were supposed to have one more Vive out here, but at the developer world, as it goes, there's no instruction manuals that come with the infrareds, so don't put them in the sunlight, they don't work. You would think that that would be common sense, but it's not. So we're down a Vive, so that's why we have two. We're a little bit backed up, but thank you all for coming here today. And we've got some great developers on the panel tonight, and we've had some good experiences today. We plan on doing second Saturdays here, so brand that into your brain. Second Saturdays, open for developers and experiences, and this lovely location, ExpertDOJO, down here with Brian McMahon, who's been so wonderful to open this up to the LA community of virtual reality developers so that we can build an audience and we can share our production as we develop. And I'm going to give Brian a little moment here to talk about ExpertDOJO.
Thanks, dude. So, look, first things first. Has everybody enjoyed today? Yeah. Any good time so far? So, can we give some social love out? Let's make this a really big thing. We do events here all the time. I'll explain very briefly what we do in a second. But we do events all the time. This is maybe the funnest event we've done, because we're getting real startups that are developing phenomenal technologies, and we're all having a freaking great time doing it. So we want to make a great community around this. We don't have enough VR going on over in Santa Monica. I am really happy. We never open up on weekends. This is the only thing we open up for because we really love it. So let's just get the word out. We want to say, what's your social tag? Your Twitter handle?
Game School for All.
Okay, so Game School for All. So can you just grab some phones out? And let's just do a tweet out or a Facebook like. Is it exactly the same on Facebook? So it's Game School. G-A-M-E, School, S-C-H-O-O-L, and then the number 4, and then A-L-L. And if you include ExpertDOJO in there as well, which is expert_dojo, then we will retweet it, we will push it all over the place, and then we'll go directly out also to loads of people who are involved in VR. So when you do this event, every second Saturday, right, of the month?
Second Saturday.
When you do this event every second Saturday of the month, you're going to be around all your own people. We bring in 150, 200 people, best gamers, best VR. It's going to be friggin' awesome, right? You can tell I'm excited. So that's my major piece. My tiny piece is ExpertDOJO. For all of you here, we are an academy for entrepreneurs. We only deal with early stage entrepreneurs, which are the entrepreneurs who are at most risk of failure. The reason we exist is because there is 98% failure rate at all levels within technology or VR or whatever it is within entrepreneurship, which is totally unacceptable. We believe that is because of a lack of community, a lack of advisor and a lack of coaching, and a lack of good education. So we bring them here, we bring people like Jude and just phenomenal experts within this industry here all of the time. You can be part of this community without paying a dime. We open up the workspace for anybody to be able to come to, as long as you're prepared to help other members of the community. We believe, I used to say before, a rising sea lifts all ships. I now have a better one, thanks to this man over here, Jason, which is everybody brings a friggin' log to the fire, okay? You don't bring a log, then you're not welcome. You bring a log, and then we have this big massive fire and we can burn some stuff. So you're all welcome. Anyone who wants to talk to me afterwards, please do. Expected to be here for as long as Jude and his team wanted to be here for. We love these guys and support them massively, and enjoy the panel.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ryan. Thank you. Yay, well, we've got our developers here tonight, and tonight is about talking about opportunities in virtual reality, because there's many different ways that you can become involved with whatever skills or talents that you have right now. The market is in demand of lots of content, so any way you can do that. We are trying on second Saturdays to have an educational component. We'll be teaching some Unity, some Unreal in the morning, and then do some VR experiences in the afternoon. Then we'll be doing a panel, and in the evening we're going to be opening up more of a social type of hangout with some alcohol sponsors and some great music, so you can just party down. It'll be fun. But here's our awesomely handsome panel here. So let's we're just gonna, it's very casual tonight, and if you have something on the top of your mind that you just really want to kind of get out there and ask our members and on our panel here, please feel free to do so. This is more of kind of an open forum, and it's a way for them to talk about how they took advantage of their opportunities in virtual reality and what they're doing with them. It's a very unknown market right now. We don't know how to predict where the money's going to come from when you finally do develop something, but there is a way to make money through downloads and different licensing. So we can find out through these guys what they're doing and how they're growing their virtual reality. I've got to make sure, Tim Porter here. He is a technical artist, and he is doing with Underminer Studios, right? Great, he's got a great project. And then Charlie Trin, game designer from Disney, as well as co-founder with me with the Hyperator. We are a VR production house. We have some pieces coming out in a couple of weeks in virtual reality. We have Kevin Mack here, and he is an Academy Award winner and turning VR producer with his piece Space Shape VR. Shape Space, excuse me, Shape Space. There it is for all of those that need to see that. That would be at Shape Space VR for Twitter feed if you want to tweet that. And he won his Academy Award for special effects for What Dreams May Come. So we're honored to have him here tonight to talk about his VR experiences. And then Azine, I will never get your last name right, but Mernouche? Okay, cool, excellent. He's doing something super exciting, and he'll tell you when that's happening, but it's a Mind and Body VR hackathon coming up, sponsored by HTC Vive and Quest Nutrition. If you didn't have a chance to get one of their nutrition bars, I think he's got a few left. So he's got a hackathon coming up, and then next to him is Aksa. Excellent. There's no way I'm gonna get your name right. No way. Wait, Zavongto? All right, you'll have to introduce yourself again. She has Mood Me. If you have a chance to check out her experience, it's more in the mind-body. So you two sitting together is actually a perfect matchup. And then on the end there with Amped UX is Tim Moore, and he's been Ed Moore, excuse me. Ed has been doing some VR experiences, and he's got a great architectural piece that's out right now that you can check out. So right now we're just gonna pass around the microphone. You guys can talk about your opportunities in VR and what you've been doing a little bit, and just kind of be cautious to move it along.
Alright, so I own Underminer Studios. I was a technical artist for 10 years in the video game industry, but I end up using all of the different things that I've learned working as a subcontract right now for VR Radio, doing a VR video player for everything that's out there, including the PS4, and as well doing a very cool demo with the gentleman down at the end, Ed Moore, doing architectural visualization in a VR environment. So that's our thing.
Hi, I'm Charlie, co-founder of both Game School and Hyperator. And Game School has got an apprenticeship program that is teaching VR development. So you can come in and actually learn how to do VR projects and then work on an actual VR project. So Hyperator is kind of our VR development studio, and we actually bring in clients to work on VR projects. And that's really exciting to us, and we're kind of here showing off all the VR experiences. And next month we hope to have some of those experiences to show you guys.
I'm the creator of ShapeSpace VR, and I've been interested in VR since 1963, when the ancient elders from the distant future came to me in the form of these strange plants in my yard, and they showed me, virtual reality, and I thought it was really cool. So anyway, I've been making virtual art for 30 years now, and I've been biding my time doing computer graphics for visual effects for movies for many years, and now that the technology is finally here, I'm finally able to realize my life's dream. So I'm having the greatest time of my life making VR.
I'm Azine Mernouche, and I'm an entrepreneur. I've formed several companies. One most recently in a digital agency out of Denver, Colorado. So I'm coming from the mobile web technology world, and I've always had an interest in VR and games, and I'm like, F it, let's just jump in. And Santa Monica was kind of the Silicon Beach source for me for that. So I have a new company called Brave New Media, and we're working on some collaborative VR games that should be really fun. And we're co-organizing the hackathon in July. It's called Mind Body VR, and it's co-sponsored with HTC. They're going to throw a bunch of Vives at the event, some money. So it should be $20,000 worth of prizes and lots of cool things going on. And it's July 22nd through 24th. And you're going to meet amazing people doing some really fun things. And so if you're interested in VR, if you're a developer, if you're a designer, if you just have an idea, you guys should come check out. Hackathons are a really great way to get your idea out there. So if you are interested in the event, just come to the table and I'll sign you up.
Hi, my name is Oksana Zapoyka. I'm a co-founder and project of MoodMe. MoodMe is the healthiest way to change your mood. We are combining virtual reality and mindfulness technique to help you to go to your desired mood anytime you want. So actually right now we are ready with a pilot experience. We're testing it right now over Mack. So join us after. And we're ready to help you to be more calm, more relaxed, or maybe more energized, all full of creative energy.
Okay. Hi, my name is Edward Moore, and I run Amped UX, which is a user experience design consultancy for video games, mobile, web, VR. I've been a games designer for about 18 years. I worked for big companies like EA and Pandemic, and then 2 years ago I started my own user experience design consultancy. I've worked on a variety of VR projects, MGO Advanced, which is a collaboration between DreamWorks and Universal. I've also worked on Unreal virtual reality projects such as World War II's for Reload Studios, as well as some unannounced projects for PlayStation VR. And my most recent VR project has been a collaboration with Tim it's called Dream VR Homes, and it's to provide virtual reality services for the architecture and construction development industries.
Excellent. Well, that's all our panel. How many people in the audience here are developers developing VR? Significant amount of people. How many people here want to get into VR and start developing VR? Excellent. And whoever's left, you just enjoying hanging out, experiencing? Excellent. And does anyone have a question on the panel, for anyone on the panel at this point? Any questions? Yeah.
This question is for Ed. I saw your demo VR and I love it. Went home, I thought after the demo, I was goozing around. So you talked something about UI, UX, mostly UX in VR world. What kind of UX patterns are evolving in terms of not making the customer, having a bad experience and walk away from VR?
That's a great question. I can't really speak about patents because I don't. That's not something.
Patterns.
Patterns. Oh, patterns. Okay, I thought you said patents. So.
Sorry, my Indian.
Yeah, I mean the exciting thing about VR and UX is that a lot of it is evolving, but there are certain things that you do need to keep in mind to make sure that you're, not making people sick. A lot of it has to do with, for example, in video games, there's certain rules and conventions that you use for how you treat camera behavior. And a lot of those rules just go out the window when you're starting to work in VR. A very obvious example, or a simple one, is in a first-person shooter type game in video games, you can strafe, you sidestep, and that's very basic. As soon as you put that in a VR product, it makes people sick because it has the equivalent feeling of somebody pushing your head from the side. It's this unseen force that kind of pushes you. So in terms of patterns, I think that the thing that you need to think about is you can't do anything that disrupts the connection, the mind connection between the user's mind and the VR experience where they're moving their head around. So you can't really suddenly grab the camera and take control away from them. If you're doing something in first person, there are ways that you can do things that, for example, if you're doing like a cutscene, and there's some things you can do, but you have to do things very slowly. You have to do things very gently. You have to think about camera transitions, things like fades or cuts, to make sure that you're not disrupting the user experience in VR in a way that can be very shocking or sudden to the users. And a lot of times, there is, you can search online, look for articles about this stuff. Sony, if you do stuff with Sony VR, they have their own kind of sets of documents and PDFs that they send to all their developers that outline these things. But really, a lot of it is still emerging, and people are still figuring these things out.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
So a lot of VR experiences these days are focused on experiences, individual experiences. What do you think about, do any of you have any experience in allowing for collaborative aspect in virtual reality? And if so, do you have any suggestions for making that type of experience successful?
So there's not a lot of multiplayer experiences that are out there. A lot of people are working on them right now, but what is actually in the space is still pretty new. I mean, VR itself, as far as everybody's been working on, has only been really around for about 3-4 years. When Rift came out for the first time. So a lot of these things are still paradigms that, once again, we don't understand. There are some really fun experiences. It was at GDC that were multiplayer experiences that really are pushing the boundaries. But as it stands, it's just like I said, it all has to be relearned, it all has to be redone. One interesting thing that was said at Vision Summit was the way that we've been telling stories for generations, ever since the printing press, was from a single narrative experience. Now you have to go ahead and make an experience that you are actually the narrator. So at that point in time, everything can continue to change and continue to evolve. So to do that complexity on top of having a multi-person, each and every one of these people can do that experience all different at the same time. Until we get further and deeper into this, it's going to be a lot more difficult to figure out exactly what the path to that is going to end up being.
I think that's a super good question for everybody on the panel to answer.
No, of course.
What we're finding that's interesting, that collaboration happens a lot more with outside of the gaming industry, and it's happening more within industries that need collaboration. JPL is doing an amazing thing with the HoloLens, where you can actually work on like a jet engine as a team, working together in a virtual jet engine, and you go and you build a simulation of your moon lander, and you don't have to build a physical moon lander to test and to go, oh, that didn't work. You can actually simulate it with like engineers and designers, and then from there they can see, okay, that actually makes sense. So the collaboration is way more in the industry-wide space. I think for gaming and entertainment, you're talking more of a storytelling experience. So everyone in different industries are kind of focusing on different parts of VR, and I think gaming and entertainment is just trying to crack the whole storytelling point of view. But collaboration is a big deal to a lot of industries. It's just a very tough thing to do when you're just trying to figure out how VR works. And AR is actually a really big thing. We haven't necessarily talked about it today, but AR is also that big push for collaboration, where you're not in a virtual set by yourself and you bring somebody in, but we're all here collaborating, and we all put on glasses to see a more AR experience. And that's where collaboration will be more interesting. But again, that's tech that still needs to be developed.
Yeah, I'm not clear about the difference in how you mean collaboration in terms of people working together in VR to create something. That's one form of collaboration. But there's also the social element in that, with games and some of the things, people complain, well, in VR, you can't have multiple people in the VR space at the same time, and people are experimenting with that and trying to do it. It's still just early days, and the technology to do it is still a bit of a stretch to work out the differences between the hardware and whatnot. I will say on the content that the the whole notion of the storytelling thing of people going and having, everyone is talking about virtual reality, that it will be the future of cinema, and that they're talking about it like the only thing you can do with it is storytelling and narrative. And this concerns me just because I don't think it's really appropriate to think of it that way. Naturally, people will come up with ways to do narrative, but on some level, virtual reality is at odds with narrative, because by definition, narrative is a third-person perspective. You're being told a story that someone else is relating to. Whereas in VR, we respond to it very differently. It's a first-person subjective experience, and this is the way we process that information is very different from how we process it when we watch something on a screen in the third person. And so even if you were to adapt, a given story into a first-person experience in VR, it's not a narrative on a fundamental level. That and also this idea that we have to, I guess, have different ways of looking at these problems. I just think the opportunities to go further with virtual reality than storytelling, I think the opportunities for spatial presence are much powerful, much stronger.
As far as collaboration, like co-op gaming and things like that, I think it's the exact same as we would have in traditional gaming over networks. But if in the same room, in the same space, VR technically, like on the Vive, gives you a second screen and a second player. So what we're experimenting with is like a racing, chasing kind of game where one person is on the keyboard and traditional monitor driving, and the other person is in the VR headset shooting, the bad guys that are coming after you. And so what are the opportunities there to be able to like yell at each other and give each other instructions and help out and that kind of thing? I think that's where it could be really fun and interesting and different. Is it going to revolutionize cooperative gaming? I don't think so ultimately, but it is going to be fun. So there's some really new ways that you can explore that.
That's a great point, because you see how just today you see all the people trying out the experience and they're very isolated. There's everybody else is around and enjoying the experience of seeing other people do it, and I think that's a big part of the social aspect of VR, at least now.
Yeah, and I want to add from technology perspective. Right now, it's like when we together in VR, it's almost no way for us to communicate. Yeah, only that I know right now, it's an online site, Alt VR. They based in San Francisco. They build voice system, so you actually activate your mic and headphones, and you can actually talk. But according to Mark Zuckerberg, revolution is coming. Revolution is right now. Yes, they're building Oculus, as we know, Facebook, own Oculus, and the main thing they will bring, it's a communication and collaboration opportunity inside of it. That's by controller, yeah? If we have controllers, we have at least our hand inside of virtual reality, communicating in real time. If we have it, we can build something together and so on. For example, Google just yesterday presented Daydreaming, the operation system for virtual reality. And the main thing they presented is a way to collaborate inside. So check Daydream Labs, they have almost 30 up already, and half of them are for collaboration. And actually what's going on, that was PC era, computer era, right now is a phone era, next one is a virtual reality era. So in the future we will forget about our PCs or our laptops and go and work or entertain in virtual reality. For sure communication will be part of it if we are living there. So yeah, it's a lot of space for creativity.
So just to add on, I think that everything that all these wonderful people have said is true. So I think that with virtual reality, with non-gaming things, you're going to see a lot of collaboration, obviously, in business-to-business type of virtual reality applications. Any type of like the architectural stuff, any type of professional training or industrial simulation, like surgery, that type of stuff. I think that's going to be in the non-gaming sphere. That's going to be where a lot of the collaboration is going to be happening. Within games, I think you're going to see when virtual reality, like the hardware releases, you're going to see them appealing towards kind of the hardcore gamer crowd, and that type of crowd also tends to like multiplayer games. So I think that, I've already worked on 2 multiplayer gaming VR projects within the past 6 to 8 months, right? So I think that you're going to see that kind of collaboration, that type of shared multiplayer experience happening a lot. But in the longer term, looking beyond virtual reality, I completely agree that augmented reality, I think, is where the big growth is going to happen, because then you're layering things on top of what people are already seeing, and people are seeing the same things rather than this kind of isolated experience where you're just kind of cut off the world.
So as developers, something y'all just think about for a second, your top do's and don'ts for early developers getting into VR. Give you a think about it for a second. Seeing as we have some developers in the audience here too, and I don't know if anyone really knows the latest numbers of the virtual reality market size. As I've just been crunching a lot of numbers for some VCs to be able to invest to get some developers going on some projects, including some of our own. And right now at this moment, there are 2.5 million VR units on the market. And the units define the market share. These are the people that are going to be doing the downloads. These are the people that are giving you your ROI back for getting into this business. And what's fantastic about virtual reality is that it can be a business. You can wrap a company around each VR project, much like an application. So that opportunity, I think, is astounding, but it's also growing. It will double by the end of the year. There will be 5 million units on the market by the end of this year. And then by 2020, there will be 90 million units on the market. And that's not a prediction. That is actually like manufactured, like orders already like contracted. So all of that market size is available, and seeing as the machine and the platform are there now, content needs to be developed and come next. So there are opportunities. So as people are going to try to get into this field, what would you, just off the top of your head, let them know do's and don'ts? What have you done that was a waste of time? What did you do that was great? What are you enjoying about it? Just early adopters in development and what they can do next.
Test early and test often. A lot of the paradigms that we have for camera work and for the way that things feel and the way that things should work and the way that things should interact, people should interact with things, completely go out the window when you go into VR. Being able to touch something, open a door, just as well as walk through a room, change entirely. As well with the way that we do motion inside of it. So test early, test awesome, put it on the device. I mean, it's the same for basically any other environment, but always have multiple people playing it, which is something you don't tend to do. As we continue to work in VR, we get less and less and less sensitive to frame rate problems, to problems of movement and motion. So give it to your grandma. Give it to somebody who gets motion sick easy. If they like it and they're able to deal with it and they're able to do regular VR as well, they're perfect to be able to do it. Let's see. Don't try to get it right the first time. Iterate. It goes back to the test early, test often. Get people to look at it. Don't live in a hovel. Don't work on your own. Show it to people. Have fun. Bring it out to events like this. Go, hey, this is what we're working on. Go to a hackathon. Go, hey, play with my toy. Do you like it? What do you like about it? What don't you like? What could I change? What do you think? Because in the end, you're the consumer. All I'm doing is making something. Because all you're really doing as a developer is you're making something for other people. If the other people don't like it and you like it, well, you've done it wrong.
My do's and don'ts kind of like the same point. It's do try VR and do VR. I think a lot of people think that VR is like, it's great, but they feel like they're already late in the game. You're not late in the game. No one is late to the game. Everyone can get into VR, and I think if you have any inclination to get in, do try, and there's not that many people in it, and the technology is going to keep improving, but the content is not there. So you have a lot of opportunities. Like, think about it like the early days of .coms, the early days of apps, any kind of tech industry we've come. There's a huge amount of content that needs to get developed where after a while everyone's going to say VR is it. But right now just the content needs to be there. So do something in VR because you're most likely going to be an early adopter, and that's really going to push you to the front of the game. And then don't try to take what you already know and put it into VR and call it a day. It does not work. It's kind of like saying we're drawing in 2D objects and everything is flat 2D paper and films in 2D. We force people to see everything in a framework of a 16:9 widescreen, right? And that's what we're used to, but that's not what we as people are used to because we keep everything in 360 and 3D. So the don't try to say, oh, I've seen this in internet, should I just port it over? No, it doesn't port over. And this is what Tim was saying. You want to try things and you want to test it because no one knows the answer, and that's great because there's an opportunity for anyone to get in and really innovate our space with VR. So do it and don't be afraid to try new things and see how it can take VR to the next level.
I'd say do experiment. Try things that you wouldn't necessarily, that don't even necessarily have an end result or a goal. Objective-based, have your objective be novelty instead of some specific goal. It's been shown that it's more effective to have novelty be your goal if the goal you're after, if your objective is, if you don't know all the steps. So if you don't know exactly how to get to your goal, it's better to just search for novelty and you're more likely to find the steps you need to get to that goal. And the other thing is more, I'd say, is more of a safety tip. There's a fundamental neurological principle at work here that a lot of people just aren't aware of. And I think it's important for VR developers to realize and consider that VR affects our brain in a very different way than traditional third-person perspective or narrative. So if you're deeply engaged in a narrative, your attention is focused on it, and you're really absorbed in it. And narrative is wonderful in this way. It takes our mind off our troubles. When we go into a movie, we lose ourselves in it. But if you are completely lost in a story, in a narrative, your brain is unable to appreciate the fundamental innovation of virtual reality, which is spatial presence. Spatial presence is the sense of being in a place, actually being there. It's a non-verbal part of the mind. It's presence. It's when you're standing at the edge of the Grand Canyon, or you've just jumped out of an airplane, or you're on a roller coaster. If you're thinking of metaphors for virtual reality work on projects, think of real life, think of reality, use reality as your movies and games and all these other things. And sure, everything's going to be in virtual reality, but to really take advantage of its great power is to take advantage of spatial presence. And so just know that if you think about it, you've got, if you're into superheroes or whatever you're into, would you rather watch a movie about superheroes or play a game where you control some superheroes? Or be a superhero. So that's my advice. Be the superhero.
So I have a backtrack here, that's great. I'd say don't do VR just because it's the hypiest thing in tech in the world right now. If something works in a more traditional model and you have a really great thing they want to create, there's still tech VR on top of it. I went to the Star Trek Beyond event last night and they had this little VR rig at the back of the room where like the crappiest seats are. nobody's gonna tune into that just because it's novel. They're gonna tune in, see it for 10 seconds, see it's the worst seat in the room, and leave, right? So I don't think you don't need to do VR just because it's novel. Do it because you have something really, really interesting that only VR can do, you know? And give that the user that experience. I agree with all you guys, like experiment, like fall on your faces, trying crazy things with your headsets, you know, experiment as much as you can and just learn. And the tools are so super easy to pick up right now. I have a design background, I don't have a programming background, but I'm learning how to program the game. So I've done that in the span of a couple months. So the tools are accessible, don't be afraid of it. Just go out there and create some really cool things.
I want to highlight more about storytelling side. Empathy and empathy were like first thing. Imagine yourself, be yourself, ask your client, like constantly understand, because it's not a movie anymore, it's experience. Actually experience that I'm living during the process, I'm wearing the headset and living that. So actually you are not building it like scene by scene, you're building it like emotions you want a person being in, you want a like picture person be in or situation person be in, and you want person behave in some way. You wanna like put it with a sound or maybe with visual effects when you want a person to learn or what to do, or maybe a person should follow some advices or be part of the story. So actually it's completely changing storytelling. We can't even imagine how it's changing storytelling because we don't know right now. We just have that fully immersive understanding that I am here. We were testing our demo today. We have like 10-15 minutes experiences with a teacher on Bali. You're doing some pressing and yoga exercise, and that was really loud music outside. And person who was doing that experiment in 2 minutes completely switched from really loud music outside, being fully present on the beach on Bali and pressing and really calm. And music outside was really intense, but person was really there. So for me that was one more proof that if we see it, and you know 80% of people is a visual based people. So if we can see it, we believe it. We are there, not here, there, somewhere. And please don't put your shitty MVP online. Because when I'm trying to find like video, a 360 video of beach, I found a lot of different shit. So yeah, like, you know, I just need video of the beach. It doesn't. Like please iterate, test, and everything, but delete old version from the web. You know, like put only the latest one because for a lot of people they experience virtual reality first time. If they have a motion sickness or if they just don't like it, they will put that mark on all virtual reality. No, it doesn't work for me. I tried it once. So like that.
So for my I would say that do a lot of research, like look at what the competition is doing because everybody is out there and they're all figuring out these things together. And you know, go on to download stuff from the HTC Vive store on Steam. Go to the Gear VR store and try demos because everybody is figuring this stuff out. And you know, don't assume that you've got the best solution. See what other people are doing. Under my dome, I would say don't assume that you know best. This kind of piggybacks on the test early, test often thing. But what you want to do is you also want to try to augment your testing with getting metrics and numbers and analytics. So, you know, have people do surveys after they try it and track the data over time as you're iterating on your demos so that you can, you know, because VR is this very subjective experience. Everybody kind of experiences it differently, but you can boil it down to some objective things. How bad was the motion sickness? You know, how smooth were the controls? How immersed did you feel? and the overall quality of the experience. And you can use this to track your progress over time. So don't be afraid to get metrics and use that data that can help guide your development.
And developers that come to Second Saturdays can come for free to share your experience. So we're going to briefly somewhat wrap this up a little bit. I'd say final words from the panelists, and then if anyone has any questions, think about some questions while they're kind of giving their final words to you, and then we'll open it up for a couple of questions, and then we'll get back to virtual reality experiences. So Ed, why don't you just start? We'll just head back this way, and just final words to developers and potential developers.
Okay, final words. I get it is totally an exciting time to be involved with this. And the technology has never been more accessible. There's so much information out there with the Unity community or the Unreal community. It's super accessible to get in. You can, even if it's just you, even if you've got a job, and you want to do this on the side as a hobby. I think that's how I got into game design and game development in the first place. And I'm pretty sure it's similar with other people that just do it on the side, and eventually it becomes a hobby that you can make a living. You can make a living doing your passion. So yeah, I just go for it, really. And it's very exciting to be involved with it because we're all learning all this new stuff together.
In sum up, I will recommend research. It's a lot of information out there, everybody doing their experiment, everybody testing, and everybody putting that back online, so for other people around can share that knowledge and start not from the beginning, but from the experience of people who already did. And for me, I'm not treat startups who appear right now in any field as a competitor. No, we are a collaborator. We are working together to build an industry, and we will succeed together or we will fail together. Because virtual reality not proven thing. Yeah, we're just like, wow, it's so cool, wow. But how to use it? No, but you can watch a movie in a different way. Or something, yeah, we still figure it out. So actually a lot of people around ready for collaboration, like jump into that and do that, talk, hackathons, everything, because we are building that together.
So it's really exciting. People keep saying it's a really exciting time, but it is kind of the beginning of what the future of human-computer interaction is going to look like, and VR is just one or two of the senses that we're going to be using as we interact with computers. And so you're jumping into the space now. You're basically at the forefront of what that's going to look like, and you can shape it. And I think that's what's really exciting to me, is that we have the option and opportunity right now to shape that future. Everything from AI, speech recognition, other forms of input, and how we interact with computers. And we're all defining those things right now, and so we have the opportunity to make that future great or terrible or however we want to see it. So it is a fun time to be working on this.
Yeah, project a positive future. We are closing in on some pretty exciting times here, technology-wise, not just virtual reality, but artificial intelligence and the coming singularity when humanity merges with technology. So it's sort of, you can't even say that hardly with a straight face, and yet at the same time, it's happening. It's going to happen. So I think it's good to think about it, and instead of being like, oh my God, that's the Terminator or some horrible science fiction movie. Think of it in a positive way. It is the evolution of humanity into something better. And so I think that this whole idea of virtual reality gets into this notion of, well, what are we, what do we do in technology in general, how is it helping us, where does it go? Ultimately, if we get to this place where technology has solved all of our problems, all of our needs are met, there's no shortage of resources, everybody's taken care of, well then what meaningful endeavor remains for humanity? It's art and entertainment. That's it. That's all that's left. So I think that's something to consider, is that in the future there won't be any jobs except art and entertainment, and it'll just be what people do. It's not really a job. It's just because that's what people do. So anyway, that's my thing.
My big advice is VR is amazing, exciting, and it's kind of like dreaming big, looking at the moon, and you can stare at the moon all day long, but you do have to walk with feet in front of you every day, walking towards something. And I think VR is exciting, but you have to be very grounded on what you want to tackle in VR. And I think VR right now has a huge encompassing umbrella of what VR means, which is 360 video, to interactive live experiences, to games and 3D development. So find your grounded space in VR, whether you're going to do storytelling in videos, whether you're going to do 3D development in VR, whether you're going to do apps, because apps is huge in VR and bringing people together. So dream big, but look towards what's really grounded already. The technology is still very young and early, so don't get caught trying to dream big and having no technology to meet that need. So really pay attention to kind of where people are with VR, but hope and dream big, because that's the exciting stuff, but don't get stuck up there dreaming and not having anything grounded to building your VR experience.
So I would say get out there, try it. As most people on this panel have said, it's easier than it ever has been to be able to get out there and put something out that people can enjoy. Go out there, find something that you want to do, find something, and go to hackathons, go to collaboration spaces, co-working spaces, go talk to people, get on panels, go figure out what's going on out there in the world, and enjoy what you're doing. I know maybe it's a little bit of a millennial, but have fun. If you're not having fun and you're doing VR, you're doing it wrong. Enjoy what you're doing, find out what drives you, what your passion is, and push it out there. And then ask for help. Turn around to all the people, just like everyone has said on this panel, we're all kind of in the same space. It's so brand new. We're all figuring it out together. And if you hold all of that information inside, the industry itself is never going to move forward. So put it out there. Hopefully that net that you cast will bring in so much more information for yourself. So get out there, share, and love what you do.
And speaking of getting out there, community-wise, I know you have something happening in VR. If anyone else has a VR moment, an event coming up, we'll take the time right now to make those announcements, and then we'll come back for final questions. So this Unreal Developer Los Angeles.
Hi everyone, my name is Bukas. I run the Unreal Developers Los Angeles group. If you just Google Unreal Developers Los Angeles, you'll find the meetup page. We tend to have meetings towards the last week of the month, and I also started a regular open hack space, which is basically come and bring your work and just instead of sitting at home hiding, and just share what you're working on with other people. Hang out, talk, socialize, make friends, maybe help each other out as well. So our next open hack space will be at Nomon next Sunday, May 29th, 2 to 6 o'clock.
Questions?
Okay, cool. I don't know if anyone has anything like released in any of the headset stores, but just wondering about like downloads and like what we can expect like today, like if or even any at all.
I can say I don't have anything on this person. Somebody, you do. What are you?
Shapespace VR Zen Parade is available on the Oculus store for the Gear VR. It's a free download. You can download it for free. It comes with a minute preview, and then for $4.99 there's an in-app purchase to purchase the entire app. And yeah, good luck with that. Lots of downloads. We've had it up just for a month, and we have over 35,000 downloads. Now that's the free version. Sales, of course, is much smaller, but a surprising thing about it is how many people actually download the apps. And it's not just our app. I think this applies to all the apps on the store. Anyway, I think about half the downloads don't get opened. So there's apparently a lot of people out there, half the people that download things never launch the apps, which is kind of weird. But anyway, it's a challenge getting that all through to the Aqua store. Dealing with them is not easy. They're hard to communicate with and get to. It's like the Great Oz or something, trying to get to them, get any help or feedback or information. But I encourage you to do it. It takes longer than they say and you would expect.
Going back to that, if we actually have a download to 50% open rate, that's actually better than you normally get 30 to 35% depending on whatever video game that you have. So I came originally from the mobile space. ROI is going to be low until we figure out exactly what's going on there, and just saying what they're taking from the source, since it has such a limited reach at this point in time, it's going to be very difficult. But on the app side, more people open your app with the regular video game.
And we get money. Their check cleared. Check cleared. It's not a lot of money. It's not enough to pay for the app yet, but it's 1 month and it's steady. And we're logging hours. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of people, the time that people have spent in our app. So that's exciting and encouraging, and it's just going to grow. So I think it's really important to get stuff out there and now and soon, because you're building a brand. Over time, I think it's just going to grow.
Just one thing to add on. Don't assume though that just putting it on the store is enough. You have to really think about the marketing and the promotion, social media, all that stuff is really important. Connecting, find out who the big influencers online are. People who write for VR websites, follow them on Twitter. You have to almost put more effort into your marketing than you do into the development. Don't just put it up there and expect it. All the money's going to start rolling in. You gotta promote, gotta sell.
Hey guys, I have a question. Earlier, we were talking about KPIs and analytics and motion sickness, and those are kind of things to pay attention to. Obviously, for digital media businesses, there's your standard KPIs like GUVs and conversion rates. I was kind of curious if you guys could elaborate a bit more about the other kinds, like motion sickness, those things that are perhaps non-traditional for people coming from, let's say, just traditional digital media.
One of the biggest things I've learned is that there's a lot of stuff out there. By all means, look at all the information and guidelines that Oculus and everybody else has released in terms of how to go about keeping people from getting sick. But be careful too, because some of those guidelines are a little more stringent, I find, than they really need to be. So don't just take it as the gospel if they say, oh, you can't do this. That Google says it on their thing. They just came out with their platform, the behavior thing. You can't move the camera. Well, that's nonsense. It's like, you can move the camera. That's not a problem. You don't want to move it real fast. You don't want to move it sideways, but you can move the camera. The biggest thing that you find, I kept, you can try, but no matter what you do, if you pan and tilt, it's just horrible. It's not pleasant, and even if I don't get motion sickness at all, but it's an unpleasant sensation for your brain. It just doesn't feel good. So that's one that seems like, that's a pretty good rule, but I find moving the camera is not really a problem.
I think what's really interesting is we kind of saw this happening recently with mobile development, where UX designers became the biggest thing to hit mobile designs. Is we had to kind of figure out how people were looking at your experience. And 360 is exactly going through this right now with VR, where motion sickness is kind of assumed that you're going to be moving in VR, but as you guys can see, some experiences don't need you to move at all. With the Vive, you're in a little box and your movement is it. So you don't necessarily have to do a running game or a game where you're seeing moving so far ahead. So I think user experience is kind of like something we should all be focusing on to make the experience better, where don't throw motion in your experience when you don't need motion. I think that's the more strategy to it, because I think motion sickness was always going to happen, but there are different ways where maybe your experience is more about moving the person, in 170 perspective versus 360. Most of us don't walk around doing 360 all the time. We would get sick and throw up. So it's kind of like, don't buy into the gimmick, make the user experience matter, and then the motion sickness will just disappear. Like, none of you guys got sick on the Vive because you were in space, we never forced you to move. And that's what's really interesting, is there's gonna be way more strategy in user experiences, user design, putting UI, because now you have 360 space, but doesn't mean you want to use all 360 space. So that to me is my take on pay attention to user experiences the most.
This kind of piggybacks on what we were talking earlier about what to do with cameras and VR. But the other two things I was thinking about with regards to UI is, don't put the UI elements right on the camera. The UI has to be what they call diegetic, which means that it comes from within the world. So you have to have, because if you put like something that's floating on the camera and it's always in front of you where you look, that works great with regular video games, but it's very disruptive in UI. So it has to be about providing information in the environment, whether it's audio or like a TV screen that you see in the environment that you can look away from, and you can stage it in such a way that if you enter a room a certain way, you put the TV screen at the end of the room, you can ensure that people will get that information that you're trying to see. Also, with regards to churning your camera, one of the things that we try doing is also increasing the FOV, field of view, so that it simulates you're getting more information from your peripheral vision, so you don't have to turn your head around as much to see things. So that's another technique that you can use that can help improve the user experience. These are these things that we're all figuring out as we're trying things out. But in terms of the digital media, like KPIs and click-through rates, I mean, I don't know if there's like a projectile vomit percentage or something like that. We don't have anything like that yet. We're not nearly as organized as you think that we are. So maybe in time that there'll be more, indicators like that. But we're all just winging it, figuring it out.
It's also worth noting that that virtual reality and doing some of the more strenuous things in virtual reality is a treatment for motion sickness. So I think we're going to see the human vestibular system adapt over the next few years, and I think motion sickness will become less of an issue. Although I think rotating people is going to continue to be a problem for a while.
Last question. Okay, great. So you guys are all proper, legitimate artists and content creators. Looking ahead 3 or 4 years when the average consumer can get their own camera to film in VR, what do you imagine the sort of user-generated content that would be interesting and valuable?
Wait. Oh. I think things like homemade tutorials or having people walk through it and more social interaction, I think is probably going to be the best thing that you're going to see coming from super level from VR. At this point in time, that's at least the most that I can see. Being able to do something cool like a tutorial in VR is being able to get somebody closer and get them to understand. We do very little with the current way of educating, being able to check just the same thing as social version of interaction. Right now, doing interaction on Skype, it's just, through games and being able to have people 360 video.
New way of self, I guess. With a virtual new way of Snapchat. Like you're showing not only yourself but all around. Way of sending messages in like direct communication. Yeah. Like VR will change everything. I don't know, especially with the help of augmented reality in the future. Yeah, I treat virtual reality as a step. We will educate ourselves how to live in that virtual 3D world, and next one is augmented reality when they combine it. So 4 years later, HoloLens will just come to the market.
So I think the type of content that's going to really be effective to people is empathy-centric content. One of the most affecting pieces of content I saw was when I tried out the video demo that Tim and I, on a project that we worked on with Video, and they had a 360-degree video of the Nepal earthquake. And, you know, we're so accustomed to seeing things happening on the TV, which are just this little square of video that's in our rooms, it's in our bedrooms, our living rooms, and you get tuned out by it. But when I tried that, and I was looking 360 degrees around me, and really understanding the extent of the destruction that had happened there, it was really like a wow moment. It was like, wow, this is really true devastation that, you know, we're just not accustomed to. So I think that I would like to hope that people will be using VR video to create empathy and to really, because that's really the power of VR, is to really transplant your mind and put it in just an experience that you cannot have in your ordinary everyday life. So I'd like to think that's what we're going to get. But if you look at YouTube and user-generated content, I mean, it's going to be like America's Funniest Home Videos, but now it's going to be 360-degree videos, and it's going to be cats, and it's going to be stuff that people do with GoPros, you know, it's going to be people kicking themselves in the junk and all sorts of stupid stuff. So, I mean, it'll be fun, but I think you're going to see just all sorts of breadth of experiences, and I hope that it's really empathy-centric.
Yes, I would agree with that. I would also give a warning that if you are highly empathic, I would avoid that stuff because it will actually traumatize you. So it's a two-sided thing. You've got these things where it's like, you know, really, if you're desensitized to stuff, and some of this, you know, they're putting people in the middle of scenes of carnage and horrible things, and I think that's probably a good thing for a lot of people, making people aware of themselves and increase it does seem to, you know, affect their empathy and make people want to do something about it. But if you're extremely sensitive, it can be pretty traumatic, so just be careful. And just one other thing I'd say is that, you know, humans really love engagement. That's what we love about all the things we love, is that they're engaging. But our brain doesn't have the ability to distinguish between positive engagement and negative engagement. And so it's up to us as developers and creators to come up with things that are more engaging than the negative engaging things. And so just that would be my encouragement in terms of whatever you want to make. Think about it from an intellectual perspective. It's not as just engaging, but is it positively engaging? Does this help people in some way, or make them feel better, or entertain them in a way it doesn't sort of
I want to add one example of. Actually, it would be interesting to see what everybody's reaction is to this. But there's Animal Equality has a 360 video in a slaughterhouse where basically you go through the life of a pig that goes through the slaughterhouse, and I don't know how they got the footage, but I'm wondering if people are gonna. I, as a vegan, watched it and I was like, oh, this is terrible and horrible, and I couldn't watch all the way through. But I'm wondering if people watch something like that and actually do change, or maybe move slightly in a direction, or not. I really, honestly don't know. I'm kind of biased, but now profits are using this to create a lot of empathy with tons of different initiatives. And I'm really curious the science behind it. If we just tune it out after a while, the ramifications or something like that.
Excellent question. We're going to wrap this up now. So, thank you to our panelists. So we're going to hook up the vibe again. If you're on the list, get back